I think there were some messages regarding uploading of the recorded video. Usually they upload it on the same night only. That's what I have been told. Somehow I'm sure they would have missed it. So it just happens, I guess. Why it is not opening? Okay, so what did we discuss yesterday? Role of educational institutions in inculcation of values, and we understood that whenever we will be asked to write answer in terms of inculcation of values, we will be thinking from different perspective. So what all important institutions we will be looking at? Suppose you have to answer that society is facing crisis of values, moral values, something like that. Then the onus will be on family, education institutions, media, government, yes, and the political leaders, religious leaders, whatever, some other aspect you can also write about. Understood or not? And have you understood the importance of family as an education institutions and the role of education institutions in terms of value inculcation? Yes. So I think before we discuss, I think there's one important theme that is there, that how family and educational institutions how family as an education institutions, अब क्या पूछ रहे हैं दोबारा, थोड़ा chat window ऊपर नीचे हो रखा है. I will get back to your doubt after some time. Okay, so one important theme that is there, that how family and education institutions can complement each other. Because usually if we look at them, both family and EIs, we may look at them in an isolated fashion. But a very important aspect is that how both these institutions can complement each other. So when we are talking about complementing one particular institutions by other institution, we are discussing about in the context of strength and weakness. That what is the strength of family as institutions and how it is, how it is complemented by education institutions and vice versa. Yes? Okay, so I think before we discuss that, can you just draw a table where you are comparing family and education institutions in terms of inculcation of value? Just draw that table, just do this exercise. Treat it like a question, that compare and contrast family and education institutions in inculcation of values. And remember that we have to generate various aspects based on which we will compare. Just do it right now. Just take 1 or 2 minutes and do it. Compare and contrast family and EIs. Just generate aspects. I think the rest of the answer you can write at home also. Done? So what are different bases on which you have compared both family and education institutions? Yes. Source. Then nature, flexibility, yes. Formal, informal, no, very another important aspect. Then culture. Methods, very important. Methods, no, methods may differ. Extracurricular activity, curricular activity, all these things may not be available at family level. Timing, family is a lifelong source of learning. Educational institutions, it is only in the formative years of the life usually. Yes, diversity is something very good. So basically, formality, informality, timing, tools that are available to you, the actors. Talk about actors. See, whenever you are comparing to institutions, any institution, think in terms of actors also. That who are the actors? Here, parents, siblings, friends, maybe they may be the actor, in the context of friend. But there are teachers, then your friends, students, all those people will be there. So think in terms of actors, processes. What is the process of imparting values? Yes. So, NCC and NSS may not be possible at home. So just compare them with respect to these aspects. So now we know that, there is a difference that is there between family and education institution in terms of inculcation of value. Now let us think that how both these things, compare with each other, how they can complement each other. So I think if we talk about family, it has, weakness in terms of that parents may not be the great role model, or they may be propagating orthodox values. Yes, all the sense of patriarchy and everything. But education institutions, they are supposed to be rational. Their curriculum, it is supposed to teach scientific temper and everything. So that is how they can, complement each other. Similarly, family, they may not have diversity of ways. The parents may not be trained, to actually impart right set of values. But teachers, we can expect that they are trained in that only pedagogy. They are trained in pedagogy. They are trained in teaching you something. So parents may not be trained. On the other hand, there you will get trained teachers. So another important a comparison that you can make. Then you talk about the strength of family, that family can provide personal personal support, emotional support that is there, that may not be possible at the level of EIs because the number of students is usually huge. Yes, so that is how you can complement, and perhaps you can also highlight the dynamic aspect that family structure is breaking down, and because of these many regions, contemporary concerns that are there, education institutions should play their role. Similarly, vice versa, you argue. Similarly, commodification of education, privatization of education, because of that, education institutions, they are also not playing that great role. So that is why family also cannot leave everything to education institutions. Understood? So that is how both these institutions should complement each other in terms of their methods, in terms of, and then you give some practical aspect like parent-teacher meeting that is there, whole school approach, all these arguments you can talk about. Then perhaps you can talk about very good case study of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where government, it invoked the inculcation of value of cleanliness, not just through the perspective of families, but also to the schools and colleges. The cleanliness drive were there. So that is how all these things are. All these things are complemented. Understood? So compare and contrast is a very important theme that is there between family and education institutions. This theme is waiting to be asked. So far, UPSC has not asked the compare and contrast thing. So that is some dynamic aspect with respect to these two institutions. So please prepare it, and it may be asked any year. Understood? After that, we discussed, I think, Gandhiji. Yes? So all of you have gone through the stories. All of you remember them by heart. So what would you write if I am talking about, let's say, compassion? Yes, dhoti. Yes, dhoti is something. Yes, then forgiveness. The incident in South Africa. Yes. So who can tell me all the 7 sins of Gandhiji in less than 1 minute? Yes, बताइए. ऐसे नहीं, less than 1 minute. 7 मिनट ही है ना आपके पास? Faster. ऑनलाइन वालों टाइप करिए चैट पे. यस, कितना हो गया? हो गया पूरा. Politics without principle. So very nice. So basically, we need to remember all the 7 sins by heart, because see, 7 sins usually UPSC will not ask directly. Only I think once it has asked in 2016 paper. But 7 sins are great ways to add value addition in your answer. So you have to use them. For you to use them, you have to remember them. You need to understand their application. So that is why you need to learn them by heart. If you have not done so, please do it by tomorrow. Understood? Because we will be using them in our case studies also. Now my question, Sohani has asked the question, can you give an example of trusteeship in political context? See, trusteeship in political context, we can talk about, let's say, what is the heritage that we are giving from one generation to another generation? That the heritage that where we are supposed to respect individual rights, fundamental rights. Yes, we are supposed to participate in democracy. We are supposed to, let's say, hold government accountable. For example, it may be the case that I belong to a particular community, and the ruling party that is there, that party, is basically communal, but that party favors me because I belong to that community. Yes, so basically there is nothing, because it is favoring me only because I belong to that community only. So there is nothing that I should be actually worried about. But no, as trusteeship, we are supposed to, pass on to the what will be the kind of political future that will be passing on to the next generation. Yes, so we should always strive that democracy as a value we should be passing upon from one generation to another generation. So from that perspective, you can think. Okay, very nice, Abhimanyu. I think he has written all the 7 sins. Very nice, kudos, very nice. Okay, so we have discussed all Gandhiji. Please revise him again and again. Very, very important. Will be very helpful in your essay as well. Understood? So now I think we should discuss the next topics. This all of you have done? Yes? All of you have joined? Yes, Antodaya is basically that you are serving the last man. You know, you're talking about the last man, and it is basically like a special emphasis on someone that the last man should not be left. You know, and Sarvodaya is basically inclusive growth. So Antodaya is basically a means to achieve Sarvodaya. You know, by taking care of the last person in the line, in the queue, you are actually ensuring Sarvodaya. So Sarvodaya may be the end, Antyodaya may be the means. Hanji. Ethics in politics, I will discuss again in the context of international ethics. But if the question is broader in nature, you know, Gandhian perspective of trusteeship is with respect to the resources only, but trusteeship is basically all the things, all the environment, because the heritage is not just economic, heritage is not just environmental. Whatever political values you are imparting, you are guarding as this generation, you know, it is also part of that. That whether you are, suppose our forefathers, you know, they have gone into the fold of either USSR or USA, then perhaps they were not respecting the sovereign autonomy, and then we would be, you know, then we will never get that kind of sovereign autonomy in the years to come. So they safeguarded that by following non-aligned movement. Yeah, definitely, and the example that we discussed of the Bhudan movement, it is with respect to same generation only. In the Bhudan movement, people were donating their excess land to the same generation, to the landless people, same generation example. Understood? Should we write consequence of not following family value and EI value? See, what should you write and what you should not write, always it will depend upon the questions. So without you telling me the question, it will be very difficult. And of course, we will deal with the question in section A. So here we are discussing the hypothetical question that I am giving, that this is what you are supposed to write, so that we can brainstorm on something. Okay, so I think, yes, this picture is very important. Yes, we have to learn from him. क्या कह रहे हैं ये? असली पावर दिल में होती है. You know this statement, असली power. What does it mean? What does it? How many of you have seen this movie? Yes. Okay, so असली power दिल में होती है, and I think UPSC took it very seriously. UPSC took it very seriously and asked you a question. Let me see how many of you can recall the question. That rules and regulations are same. Still, positive-minded officers are able to achieve much more than the negative-minded officer. So basically, both the people, both the officers are having similar power, but asli power dil mein hoti hai. So that is the theme of that question. You understand that? All of you are able to understand this part, that even if, you know, you are the same IS officer, we are getting the same IS officer are having same powers, you know, on the same post, still some people are able to create difference while others may not be able to create their difference. And the difference lies with the personality, because you know, asli power dil mein hoti hai. So basically it is talking about the character of the individual, that even though you may have same rules, same regulations, same power, still it is the character of the individual that matters a lot in terms of implementation of those rules and regulations and all those power, that with respect to what you are implementing those powers. Understood? And that is why we say that rules, regulations have limitation. This is a very, very important theme. You will see this question again and again in your examination, that rules, regulations, you know, they have limitation with respect to ethical guidance. Why? Because rules and regulation will always provide you discretion. Always, any rule you are talking about, they will give you discretion that how you should apply that. You talk about reasonable restrictions on the fundamental rights. Yes? Now what do you understand by reasonable restrictions? It will be, you know, decided by the competent authority. Who are the competent authority? Bureaucracy only. They will be deciding the reasonable restrictions, and they may be imposing curfew, they may be imposing lockdown, and so on and so forth. So basically it will depend upon the character of those individuals, that, you know, to what purpose they are implementing those reasonable restrictions. They may implement them to protect public order or to serve political interest. Understood? They may impose sedition cases on the journalists because they are so critical of them. Understood? So basically the same rules and regulations they can misuse also, or they can use also, and it depends upon the character of the individual. So my point is, you must understand this part, that asli power dil mein hoti hai, and character of the individual, it matters a lot in terms of achieving public good. And that is why I would I would like to remind all of you that all of us have had election commission. Yes, it was not the case, that one man came and he changed the history of election commission, so much so that a Supreme Court remarked that we can divide the history of election commission in pre-TN session phase and post-TN session phase. Such was the humongous impact of this person, TN session. So it was not the case that a constitution allowed any greater power to TN session. It was not the case. Earlier election commissioner, they were also vested with the similar power, but he was able to interpret those rules and regulations in the favor of the country, and that is why he was able to achieve much, much more. So my dear students, let us learn what we can learn from the great man, TN session, whom Supreme Court also remarked that TN session happens once in a while. Such was the impact, humongous impact TN session Saab had on the election commission as an institution. So of course, he must have done something, and we can learn a great deal from him. Understood? So we are talking about, of course, a lesson from the life of administrators now, and TN session is one great example. So before TN session, there was no electoral photo identity card. The voter ID card, all these things, they did not have photos, and because of that, bogus voting was there. Yes, because of that, lot of bogus voting was there. And TN session said that we need to implement EPIC, electoral photo identity card. We need to implement EPIC, electoral photo identity card. Because he believed that using this particular voter ID card, we will be able to curb the bogus votes. But of course, when he talked about this particular reform to all the political parties, they said it is a wasteful expenditure, that we should not do this because it will ultimately lead to the wasteful expenditure. And almost all of them were against this for obvious reasons. In fact, one of the chief ministers said that he has gone mad. So when he was done with persuading with all the political parties, then he had to give a deadline, and he gave this deadline that no elections would be held in the states in which the work of issue of identity card was not completed and by this date. So basically he gave this sort of deadline that if you don't implement my suggestion, this electoral photo identity card, then I will not conduct election. So, see, and he also postponed various elections. Chief Minister of Bihar, Lalu Prasad Yadav, called him mad dog for this only, because he was postponing the elections. He was not conducting election. But he had such immense courage of conviction in his own ideas that he believed that this is the right way to do it. So, my dear students, we can learn courage of conviction from him, that despite having adversity, despite having adverse response from across the political parties, he was able to let a Supreme Court intervene and EPIC became reality. So, in terms of implementation of EPIC, that is what we can learn from TN session Saab. So, you need to write only implementation of EPIC despite political resistance. Why despite political resistance? And the value is courage of conviction. Understood? All that story you need not write that he gave the deadline and everything, but you must know. You must know. Another important part is that he did not differentiate, because when he became election commissioner, he was very keen that we should be providing level playing field. He was very keen on that, and he knew that money is going to play a great role in terms of disturbing this level playing field. And what he did, he audited the expenditure accounts of many candidates and he disqualified many of them. Thousands of candidates were disqualified in his tenure by himself because they were breaching expenditure limit. So basically he implemented the law in letter and spirit, and he disqualified various candidates because they were breaching expenditure limit. So he implemented that also. Talking about security, in those days, rigging of election and booth capturing was norms. It was happening. So he implemented this idea that we should have elections, in staggered stages rather than having, election on a single date, so that we can have safe environment when we are conducting the election. So staggering of election across different stages, to provide level playing field, to provide secure environment. Another important anecdote is that once one of the cabinet minister of, I think, the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, he was campaigning in South India, and I think he promised a reservation to a particular community. And of course, that was against a moral code of conduct that you cannot promise such thing. So he even asked Prime Minister that you should, expel this fellow from the cabinet. So you see the kind of daring he had, that he asked the then Prime Minister that you should expel this cabinet minister from your Council of Ministers, because he had promised and he had violated this. So basically, he did not differentiate between, whether you are a minister or whether you are simply someone who is contesting election for the first time. And that is what we can learn from him. That he truly believed in democracy and level playing field. Another very important tradition that he started was election observers. Whenever the election was being conducted in a state, the Election Commission of India will appoint election observers from different states. And those election observers will act as eyes and ears of the Election Commission to see whether rules and regulations are properly implemented or not. So implementation of election observer, another noble idea. Implementation of election observers. So that Election Commission can understand what is happening on the ground through the neutral election observers. Another very important checks and balances that he implemented. Then, of course, model code of conduct. He convinced all the political parties that model code of conduct should be implemented. All the political parties should abide by the model code of conduct. And all political parties agreed that, it helps them only in terms of level playing field, because all of us know that model code of conduct is only moral code of conduct. It does not have legal backing. So basically, he persuaded all the political parties to abide by the model code of conduct. So I think now we have at least 5 to 6 initiatives that were taken by him, and the values that he stood for was courage of conviction, democracy, equality. He was not differentiating between rich and poor or whether you are a minister or not, and he was actually implementing. So he was doing whatever he could do to ensure that the country is having free and fair election. Now you know all these instances, and I think you can write all the value. Dedication to public services also that you can write. Integrity, dedication to public service and everything. Understood? So these are the values he stood for that we can learn from him. आप लिख लीजिए, note कर लीजिए, because I think it is not there in the same fashion in your notes. If you want me to repeat anything, I will repeat it for you. Any story you want me to repeat, I will repeat it for you. Just write the keywords, because in the examination you only need to write keywords only. That the implementation of model code of conduct, implementation of election observer on ground, neutral election observer on ground. That is what values you can write. You ask me stories, values you can correlate later also, because we will be learning so many values in today's class also. Values you can correlate: courage of conviction, democracy, dedication to public service, integrity. All these values we can write. Minister Wali, so he asked the then Prime Minister to expel one of the cabinet minister because he violated code of conduct by promising reservation to a particular community. He himself audited various expenditure account of candidates and disqualified thousands of them. I think I will give you the exact number: 3,000 to 4,000 candidates he disqualified. But you need not write, I'm not sure about number. Thousands of candidates he disqualified. That is what you can write. He was so powerful that I think in his tenure only, government made election commission the multi-member commission. He was so powerful. So government implemented that if he remains alone, then he can implement many reforms. Pragati, understood? He did not differentiate between a minister or an ordinary candidate. He recommended expulsion of the cabinet minister to the then Prime Minister, Narasimha Rao, because he had promised reservation to a particular community during election speech. Understood? Any other story you want me to report? Model Code of Conduct, EPIC, election observers, staggering of elections, and I think a Model Code of Conduct, I've just said that, the minister, expelling of the minister, and then expenditure, yes, auditing of expenditure to ensure level playing field. Yes, done. So I think 6-7 reforms we know, and they will make a great story and examples for you. Yes, now you understand asli power dil mein hoti hai. Yes, how a man can change, how these people, they become institution in themselves. Sir, please tell a story and value correspondingly. Sir, please spoon feed us. I will not do so. I will only tell you the story. You write values. I will teach you values. Don't worry. Democracy, courage of conviction, impartiality, all the values you can write with respect to all these initiatives. Done? और आगे चलें? आपके चेहरे दिन उतरे उतरे से क्यों आते हैं? दिन भर पढ़ के आते हो कि इस लज्जा से आते हो कि पढ़े ही नहीं हम दिन भर? क्या है? क्या स्टोरी है? शर्म की वजह से? तो पढ़ रहे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ रहे हैं, तो थक जाते हैं, ऐसा क्या? पढ़ के एग्जॉस्टेड पीपल आर सेइंग. उनको देखो आप फाउंडेशन वालों को, वेरी हैप्पी. कुछ लोग तो नमकीन लेके आते हैं, पीछे खोल लेते हैं, चखना वखना, मुझे लग रहा है कुछ चालू भी कर देंगे वो पीछे. पूरा माहौल में आते हैं वो लोग. ग्रुप में बैठता है, वहाँ पीछे ग्रुप बैठता है, वो इसी काम के लिए है. स्टैगरिंग ऑफ इलेक्शन जो अभी हो रहा है, इलेक्शंस आर कंडक्टेड मल्टीपल फेजेस. सिंगल डे में इलेक्शन नहीं होता ना, बिकॉज सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस आर लिमिटेड. दैट थिंग, स्टैगरिंग ऑफ इलेक्शन. चलें आगे. समझ में आ रहा है क्या? पोकर वाला बात में कहूंगा, अदरवाइज चेहरे से बिल्कुल रीड नहीं कर सकता मैं कि समझ में आ रहा है कि पोकर फेस लेके बैठे हुए हो. एक पोकर टूर्नामेंट करवाऊंगा मैं क्लास में, ठीक है? ऑल ऑफ यू विल बी द विनर ओनली. ओके, लेट अस लर्न समथिंग फ्रॉम ई श्रीधरन, मेट्रो मैन ऑफ इंडिया. लेट अस लर्न समथिंग फ्रॉम ई श्रीधरन साहब. I think punctuality is something that we can learn from him because he completed all the projects in given time. Yes, Delhi Metro and everything, Konkan Railway projects. These are the example. So punctuality and this. So, लिख रहे हो आप? पहले लिखो. Then I will tell you stories. Done? Okay, so punctuality is something that we can learn from him, and punctuality that you have to complete your projects within the stipulated time. It is not a small feat to achieve, and he implemented that through installation of reverse clock. He installed reverse time clock. Reverse time clock mean that he will assign that this is a deadline, for the particular team to attain a particular task, and that clock will run reverse. Yes, for 10 hours are remaining, 10 days are remaining, something like that. So installed reverse time clocks. So that is how instilled the value of punctuality. This example you cannot just use in the context of administrator. You can also use how leaders are actually, they are able to change the work culture, because punctuality is part of work culture only. Alone, E. Shridharan Saab couldn't have completed Metro project on time. He installed that, he made it a value, the core value of the organization, punctuality. And that is how leaders demonstrate through their behavior and through these such actions by installing of reverse clock. Yes, just like countdown. Yes, Shubham. So punctuality is something that we can learn from him. Another is credibility. Another is credibility. So another is credibility. Now, talking about credibility, I think I've discussed that during Harshad Mehta scam, in the market, money was not there. People were not trusting, that with respect to lending of money, the money itself was not there. And in those difficult times, various contractors worked without payment for several months. It was only because of the credibility E. Shridharan Saab carried. That is the kind of credibility he carried, that various contractors worked without payment for several months during Harshad Mehta scam crisis. So basically, it reflects how does integrity can help you, how does integrity empowers you. It empowers you that without taking loan, you can actually make the project run. Yes, because people are trusting you, you have that credibility, and the testimonial of that credibility also comes from the fact that various metro projects wants E. Shridharan Saab on the board of directors. They want him on the board of directors so that his presence will, instill some sort of legitimacy to the metro project, and that will ensure that they are able to, convince their investors that please put some money in us because Eastern Saab is there and he will be overseeing everything. And that is the credibility that he is having, that he is invited by Lucknow Metro and different metro projects to be part of their board of directors. So that investors, they can get the investment. His presence brings credibility to the entire organization. Such is the kind of credibility he's carrying. This example, I think, is a Lakshmi Nagar Metro collapse that was there. This bridge, it collapsed. And he took moral responsibility and offered to resign. And he demonstrated the value of leadership through that. Offering of resignation after Lakshmi Nagar Metro collapse. If there was any other person, what he would do, he would make someone scapegoat, that under him this project was implemented and that is why that person should resign, or there should be several inquiries against that person. But he carried the stature that he offered to resign himself. Another leadership, in the context of cricket, this Rahul Dravid, he came to take the press conference after 2023 World Cup final loss. But after we won this year, he sent Rohit Sharma to take the press conference. So that is a true leadership skill of Rahul Dravid that you can talk about. That is how he demonstrated his leadership skill. In the same story, after the collapse of Lakshmi Nagar Metro, he offered to resign. So that is what we can learn from him, the taking moral responsibility. Yes? Then innovation, usually it takes a lot of time to construct a metro project. In the case of Chhatarpur Metro Station, they were not having land, even before 9 months before the deadline. They were facing a lot of difficulty when they were acquiring land, when they were building Chhatarpur Metro Station on the yellow line. So what they did, he prefabricated this entire station, elsewhere. Prefabricated entire station elsewhere, and when they got the land, he simply assembled it there. So that is a great example of innovation. Project was completed on time despite not getting land 9 months before the deadline. Because he innovated and prefabricated the entire metro station structure elsewhere and then later assembled it. This is called innovation. Understood? So, here, I think one important part that I can highlight is dedication to public service, because had he wanted, he could have simply allowed, the delaying of this project, because he is simply not having the land. And that is a very valid reason to do so, that I don't have land, how can I construct the metro project? But he had this preference, he had this value that no, I have to complete the project on time. And only when you are so dedicated to public service that you go for the innovation. And that is why dedication to public service is not just about the routine commitment, it is about passionate commitment to the public service. And that is why the example that you need to give when you are talking about dedication to public service are the examples like this. That you are going beyond call of duty to help people. You are doing innovation, everything, because you have the opportunity to simply say that since we do not have land, and that is why we cannot build this particular metro. Understood? So now we understand, we can learn the values of leadership, innovation, and punctuality. Yes? So many values we can learn from him. And all these values, especially in the context of punctuality, everything, leadership, taking responsibility for the subordinate failures, they are also great way to improve work culture. So in the topic of work culture, you can mention again Eastern Saab. Because of him, the face of different projects changed. And that is how you change the work culture of any organization. So there also you will use these examples. Understood or not? Yes? So now let us see what we can learn from Kalam Saab. it's leadership, that you are taking responsibility what is happening under you. So it is more the example of that leadership. They resign because they feel that it has happened under our watch and we are ready to take the blame for it. It is not that you would like to stick to the chair. Why will someone resign if something goes wrong? Because of that, because they are taking responsibility. They are taking responsibility that this is happening under their own watch and they feel that they are responsible for that. That is why they will resign. It is a great way of telling people that you don't care about that, you care about the, yes. It depends upon the context. In case study, I will give you both the situation when it is better to resign and when it is not the right way to do so. So in case study, we will discuss that, because resignation often displays a trait of cowardice also. So it depends upon the context. So we will discuss that in case study, because there are different scenarios. So in this case, it was the right thing to do because it shows that you are taking responsibility of what has happened under your watch. Because ultimately, you are the face of Delhi Metro. Okay, done. So let us talk about Kalam Saab. So empathy, So someone advised him that you please install the broken glass across the, on the top of the wall, on the top of the boundary wall that is surrounding your house. Often you would have seen that the broken glasses are installed on the top of the boundary wall, so that more security is there. And Kalam Saab refused because he believed that it will hurt the birds. So basically it reflects his love for the animals and empathy. Talking about this, I think this is a great theme that is there. I will discuss that right now, somehow, if I forget. The theme is, I think one statement of Gandhi ji is there, or I think this year the question was asked, that to test a man's character, give him power. Yes, so one question was this. Another question is that if you want to test a nation's progress, you judge it by how it is treating women. Yes, or a different variant of this similar quote is that you judge a particular nation by how it is treating its animal. So basically both these things are one and same only. Okay, that we are judging a nation with respect to how separate thing I am discussing. Yes, it is a very important theme. I am discussing it here because otherwise I may forget. So basically we are judging the progress of a nation on the basis of treatment of weaker section. It may be animal, it may be women, because they are weaker section. Understood? So why we are judging the progress of the nation on the basis of that? In the same way, why power is testing anyone's character? Why? What is so special with power? Because when we are talking about, I would say, weaker section, we are talking about they are powerless. If they are powerful, then they will not be weaker section, right? So the same theme is there, that we are judging the character of a nation or an individual by how that nation is exercising its power. So I will give you an example. Suppose the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, Ambani Saab, suppose he meets him, and Ambani Saab recommends something to him that is what government should do. And Prime Minister Modi, he implements that advice. The advice is rational and everything. I will give another example. A group of landless farmers, a group of poor farmers, it also meet Prime Minister Modi and it suggests something to them, to the Prime Minister Modi, and then Prime Minister Modi implement that advice. Which of these example is a greater example of democracy? The second one. Why? Because they are powerless. Because they come from the weaker section. Ambani has a lot of access of power. He has a lot of money. He can always access power. But weaker section, it may not be possible for that section to access power. So that is why we will always call the country democratic when it listens to the weaker section rather than to the richer section alone. It is not to say that they should not listen to that particular section of society, because it is democracy. We also listen to the industry because they may have genuine demand. But to only listen to the industry and not listen to the weaker section will not make us democratic. Is this part clear or not? I will give you another example. I will give you the example of poor man. Now, poor man, he's standing on the road and he's begging and doing rickshaw wala and everything. He's the poor man. So often you will not associate that he is powerful person because he's the poor man. But I'm telling you that he's very powerful. Because when he goes home, he becomes powerful by the virtue of patriarchy. And he starts displaying that character, his patriarch's character, by beating his own wife. So basically, as soon as you gave him power to that person, he started displaying his true character by beating his own wife. But when he was poor, he was not able to display his true character. So what is the difference that power made? The same question that came this year. The analysis, the core analysis. What is the difference that power made? Power provides you real choice. And when you exercise those choice, it reveals your character. So that is the single most fundamental analysis that is there, that why power tests your character, because it gives you real choice. Because the very basic definition of power is that it allows you to bend someone as per your wishes. That someone is following your wishes even if that person does not want to. That is the very basic definition of power. That you are bending some person, their action as per your wishes. So basically, it is giving you the real choice. Imagine you are that person. You are so powerful that whatever you are thinking, it is happening. Whatever you are thinking, people are aligning with that wishes. So you will suddenly feel that I am so powerful person. And then what are the choices you are going to make? That will reveal your character. I will give you another example. If I just ask you, I think this is the question that is asked very often in your ethics case study also. If I simply ask you that how many of you will take bribe when you become IAS officer? If I ask you this question, I am 100% sure no one will raise their hand. Yes? But your answer is immaterial. Your answer is immaterial because right now you do not have any choice. Has anyone offered you any bribe? So whatever you see, whatever you are saying is theoretical. Only when you have the real power, only when you have the real option that yes, there is a 10 crore of rupee that is sitting in front of you and you are rejecting that much amount of money, then only it will reveal your character that yes, you are the man or woman of true character. Right now, whatever you are saying, is symbolic. It does not matter because you are not powerful. You are not in that position. But suppose you are powerful, you have the real choice because power only will give you the real choice. Understood or not? And that is why power tests a man's character and women's character also, of course. So that is why power tests a man's character by giving that person the real choice. The choice becomes real. So if you become district magistrate and then you have that real money, in your entire life you have not seen 10 crore of rupees and suddenly it is there for you to grab and the promise of more so, that is when your character will be tested. Not now. Right now, if I offer you 1 crore of rupees, you will not believe in it. कि सर हमें तो मिल ही नहीं सकते. 1 crore कितने जीरो हमें तो ये भी नहीं पता अभी. Understood? So whatever answer you give, it is theoretical. So that is why it is said that if you want to test a man's character, give that person power. Because the way he is exercising his power, the way he is exercising his authority, that will determine his character. Similarly, the way nation is treating its women, animal, whatever weaker section you put it. Because weaker section means someone is powerful. Yes or no? Weaker section simply means there is power hierarchy that is there. So you are judging the nation on the basis of its treatment of the weaker section because the weaker section, may not be in the position to demand accountability from the people who are in power. But if suppose it is in the position to demand accountability from the people who are in power, that is the true test of democracy. Understood or not? And that is why this Niyamgiri case is one of the biggest case study that is there in the history of democracy of country, that few handful tribals, they expelled a multi-billion-dollar MNC from the project. Understood? Niyamgiri case. So very good example of democracy. You can use that anywhere. Understood or not? And that is why, and that is why it is said that how you are treating the weaker section determine your character, because when you are treating well the weaker section, it actually tells a lot about your choices, because that person may not have the choices or the option, but you may have. Understood or not? Yes? So empathy, coming back to this discussion, this part is clear to you? Talking about that question, that if you adversity, kya tha? Adversity can survive. Yeah, a man can face everyone can survive adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. So second part we have discussed. First part talking about survival instinct, that everyone, the man or women, they have survival instinct, and because of that they will be able to survive that. So it does not truly test the character of the individual. That is what the quotation wants to say, but it is not entirely true. You can counter this perspective as well, because let us talk about the hungry person. A person is very hungry, of course it is our survival now. So how that person is getting the next bread, either from stealing or from working hard, will decide his character. So adversity, yes, it tests man's character. So that is a counter that you can do to that question. Yes, we'll discuss that question in the section A also. Somehow I thought of discussing it here. So empathy, coming back to this discussion, empathy, broken glass. Understood that he did not install broken glasses because he believed that it will hurt them. Then humility. Once he was invited to the governor house of the Kerala, he was asked that you may bring 2 persons with you. So he brought the roadside cobbler and the owner of the small hotel with him, and these 2 persons were very close to him. So it reflects humility, that despite being at such high position, that you are remembering the people from your roots. Yes? Then equality. Noting it down? Okay, likh lijiye. Then similarly talk about equality. Once he went to IIT BHU to deliver a address, and he saw the 3 chairs that were on the stage, and the middle chair, it was larger than the other 2 chairs, and he asked that why there is so much of difference between the chairs. And they said, so the middle chair is for you only. And he said, no, make all the chairs equal. So that's how it reflects his humility, or I can say equality, his belief in equality. Broken glass, basically people, please repeat humility story, please repeat glass story. भाई फिर आगे कब पढ़ाएंगे हम? अभिषेक जी, विकास जी, ये बीच चीज में कहाँ चले जाते हो? ये व्हाट्सएप चेक कर रहे हो क्या कि हाय आ गया उधर से? Broken glass, simply people asked security personnel asked him that you install the broken glasses on the boundary wall, to give you better security. But he denied that because it hurt birds. It hurts birds. Equality, middle chair was larger than the other 2 chairs, and that is why he asked that please make all of them equal. So equality. Leadership. When he was working there, as a scientist, so one of his subordinate asked him that whether he can go home early that day. And he asked the subordinate what is the reason, and he said that I want to take my children to the nearby fair that is there. And he said, okay, you can go, early you can go. But that subordinate, he was so focused in his work that he forgot that it was time to leave early for the home. So suddenly he remembered that, and he went home and asked that where are the children? And his wife said that someone from your office came and he has taken the children to the nearby fair. So that reflects leadership, that how empathetic he was with respect to the concerns of the subordinate also, that he took the children of his subordinate to the fair because his subordinate was so focused in the work. So he went a step ahead and helped that person. Leadership, a great example of leadership. Understood? आ गया समझ में? Everyone, online वालों? समझ में आ गया online वालों? कौन सा वाला? Humility. Once he was invited to the governor house of the Kerala, and he was asked that you can bring 2 people alongside you. So he brought. If someone asks you who will, suppose someone asks you that you are going to visit President House, and you can bring 2 people along with you. So whom you will bring? Yeah. Okay. So basically he brought the roadside cobbler. जो मोची थे वहाँ पे, जो उनके दोस्त थे, उनको साथ लेके गए. So that reflects that he was, truly dedicated to roots. Yes, a great example of work culture also. The leadership skill that we talked about, that how leaders are taking care of the subordinate. Great example of work culture also. Yes, you can talk about that, work culture. One of my student, when he went to, he was very particular about getting into IPS. So even then, even when he was getting the rank of IRS officer, he got DANIPS, because his second choice was DANIPS only. First is IPS, second is DANIPS, and third one was Indian Railway Protection Force. Okay, so all 3 choices were police only, no other preference. And later he got DANIPS. So when he got into IPS in 2021, so he went to Lavasna, and there there is one ceremony that is there, convocation ceremony, something like that, in the month of December. He invited me, because they can invite 2 people. So he invited me, sir, that if you please come. Similar example of that. I could not go because of my commitment. So I think last week he got married, so he again invited me. And then I thought, if I don't go this time, then he will kill me. So I went there, and there I found many students from Vajiram and Ravi who were there. And my other students also, who later, entire batch was there. So many students, many of those IPS officers were my students only. So great time I had there. So I think these are the values that we can learn from Kalam Sahab. Understood? So shall we move to the next topic? Yes? So next topic is aptitude and foundational values for civil services. A very important topic. Aptitude and foundational values for civil services. Aptitude and foundational values for civil. I will give you the notes of it, I think, tomorrow. So what is aptitude? Whenever we are discussing any definition, we must understand the importance of keyword. The importance of aptitude is inherent capacity. Aptitude reflects the inherent capacity of an individual to acquire an appropriate skill through appropriate training. So basically, it is merely talking about the inherent capacity. Let us talk about this water bottle that is there. Yes. So this water bottle, it has capacity of 500 ml. Yes. So it has inherent capacity of 500 ml. Does it mean that it has 500 ml of water? Does it mean? No. So aptitude merely talks about potential. It is basically inborn potential, inherent capacity. It is talking about inherent capacity to acquire a skill at the later stage. Suppose you are showing me your answers, and I tell you that you are writing great answers. You have great potential to get good marks in ethics. Does it mean that you will always get good marks? It is simply the potential. Lot depends upon what happens now and in between the exam and on the day of exam. Yes, so aptitude is basically the inherent capacity or the potential to do something. It does not talk about the reality. If I am saying you have a lot of potential, it simply means the greater chance, the potential is there that if you work hard, work hard and to acquire a skill through appropriate training, you will gain those values, you will gain those skills. So basically it is talking about inborn potential, and at times we look at some people, as children, and you are so amazed by their skills, amazed by their aptitude, that you say that this person is talented. Yes, so talent is nothing but outstanding aptitude. Talent is nothing but outstanding aptitude. One of the student I met recently, I think she was writing her seventh or eighth answer only, and she was writing such a brilliant answer. That is what we call aptitude. At very young age, you can see, that this person is gifted. So that is basically outstanding aptitude is called talent. Yes, Vinod Kamli, Sachin Tendulkar, all these are example of that only, that at very young age, they were identified as talent because they are talented cricketers. Understood? So aptitude is something that reflects inherent capacity, inborn potential. So when we are talking about aptitude, aptitude is not a monolithic term. That aptitude is, inherent capacity or inborn potential. An aptitude may mean different thing. I mean, the aptitude is of different things. Some people have linguistic aptitude. Yes, some people, they have this inborn capacity to learn various languages so efficiently and so quickly. You talk about Raja Ram Mohan Rai, you talk about various intellectuals, they were very good at learning different languages because they had linguistic aptitude. Some people have STEM aptitude, science, technological, engineering, math. They are really good at it. Their aptitude is really good at it. Some people have physical aptitude. The people from Haryana, they're very good at it. Many wrestlers, they come from there because physically they are very good. So they have physical aptitude. Some people have spatial aptitude. They can visualize things in the space that, this thing will be more suitable if I put it there. This thing will be more suitable if I put it. Basically, they become architect, someone like that. So some people have spatial aptitude. Understood? So there is a lot of emphasis on aptitude because aptitude allows you to early diagnose that what the person can achieve. What the person can achieve, because aptitude varies from person to person. Someone may be good at linguistic aptitude, someone may be good at STEM aptitude, someone may be good at physical aptitude. Understood? So basically it is varying from person to person, and that is the importance of aptitude, that we train the person in that particular aptitude so that that person can achieve, because that person has a natural affinity towards that skill. Someone who is having a good aptitude towards programming, he will learn programming and coding very fast. Someone like me, who does not have very good aptitude with respect to programming, I hated C when they taught me the C++, all that languages. So because I did not have the aptitude for that. So basically it varies from person to person, and aptitude are a great way. How many of you have anthropology as an optional? So if you have anthropology, you will understand there is this term that is there, where we are somatotyping of the body, it is, the term is there, where we classify human physique with respect to their body types. Some people are called, endomorphs, bulky people. Some people are called extreme mesomorph, and some people are called ectomorph. The people who are, having slender and, linear lengths. They are not muscular. They are very narrow limbs. Their height is great, but very narrow build that is there. So with respect to this somatotyping, they are recommended that you should try these sports. For example, if someone is ectomorph, then long distance running, high jump, gymnastic, that person he will do lot great in these type of sports. So that is what physical aptitude can help you decide, that suppose this is the kind of sport that you should pursue. Someone who is of short stature but is bulky, muscular, then he comes from the body type that is mesomorph. So that person will be very good at bodybuilding, weightlifting, because the center of mass will be lower, because he need not pull the weight to a greater height. So basically your physical body provides you some natural advantages in different form of game. So that's what physical aptitude, that is an example of physical aptitude, that if we know early the type of physical aptitude, we can actually anticipate the kind of thing, the kind of sport that one should pursue, and that person will probably will excel that. You talk about Michael Phelps, he has great physical aptitude for swimming. You talk about Usain Bolt, they have great physical aptitude for long distance, short distance running. So basically, some people are born with physical aptitude. So if they pursue in that particular field, then they will truly excel in that. So that is what aptitude can do. It can identify the early talent. It can identify the talent early, and later, if you invest a lot of amount of hard work in that particular discipline, then it will help you. Understood or not? Yes, and there are different tests to identify that in which particular area you are really good at. Yes, the pilot battery test is there. It identifies whether you can be a good pilot or not. CSAT is there, to identify whether, you will have the aptitude for civil services or not. UPSC believes that. Okay. So CSAT is there. So basically, there are different aptitude tests that actually helps you in terms of deciding that in which particular dimension of aptitude you are really great. Understood? So all of you have got this basic understanding of aptitude, that aptitude is inherent capacity, it is inborn potential, and it is merely the potential. It is not equated with skills. If you are having aptitude, it is talking about potential. It is not talking about the present level of skill. Understood or not? So aptitude versus skill. Understood or not? So it is inherent capacity to acquire an appropriate skill through appropriate training later. Understood? And when we are talking about aptitude, we are talking about spatial aptitude, logical aptitude, CSAT aptitude, then probably, so many aptitudes are there. Understood? And there are different tests that can help you identify. If you identify physical aptitude early, then it can help you in achieving great things in sport, because then you will be channelizing your energy in the right sport. Understood or not? So let us talk about another important term that is there, that is called civil services aptitude. That whether you have civil services aptitude or not. So when we are talking about civil services aptitude, again, in the context of civil services aptitude, it is not the monolithic term. If suppose UPSC asks you whether you have aptitude for the civil services, it is asking you whether you have the necessary physical aptitude, whether you have necessary intellectual aptitude, whether you have necessary emotional aptitude, and whether you have necessary moral aptitude. Understood or not? So civil services aptitude will constitute these 4 important dimensions, that is physical aptitude, moral aptitude, intellectual aptitude, and emotional aptitude. Understood or not? Yes? It is very, very important that we understand the question on civil services aptitude will involve these 4 dimensions. We will not write a generic answer on this monolithic term, that is civil services aptitude. Now let us discuss one by one. Okay, let us talk about this physical aptitude. Now all of you, if you have seen the notification very closely, you would see that in various technical services, the people with color blindness are barred. Yes, they cannot become IPS officer, they cannot become Indian Forest Service officer, something like that. Understood or not? And for obvious reason, because they cannot differentiate between 2 colors. Yes? तो ऊपर से ऑर्डर आया है ब्लू को मारने का, उन्होंने ब्लैक को मार दिया. So lot many hazard can be there. So basically physical aptitude is required. It is also required for the people who are aspiring for, let's say, IAS also, because just immediately after interview you are sent for medical also. Their BMI is tested. So many tests are there. So physical aptitude, again, very, very important. Understood or not? Understood? So physical aptitude, you must have sound physical aptitude, if you want to become a good civil services aspirant, aptitude. You talk about this fellow, are they having good physical aptitude? Yes. If suppose they have to chase a criminal, will they be able to chase the criminal? Criminals can chase them anytime although, because usually they are very sharp. Yes. That is why they are criminal. That is why they are free, they are sharp. If they are dumb, then they will be caught only. So yes, all of us must have physical aptitude. Then you talk about intellectual aptitude. Intellectual aptitude is basically whenever you hear this term intellect, you talk about rationality, you talk about reasoning, scientific temper, objectivity, that you are able to take decision based on facts. You are having scientific temper. You don't believe in prejudices. Understood or not? You are not having a stereotypes. You have scientific bend of mind, that is basically questioning things. Basically intellect, you are using your intellect. I will discuss more on this later. So intellectual aptitude is something. Understood? Logic, you must have logic. When you are talking about things, you must have logic. That all are part of intellectual aptitude only. Because if you are logical, then only people will say you are rational. Understood? Similarly, you talk about emotional aptitude. At times, people, they become apathetic. If people in front of them, they are not feeling well, they are crying, they are in crisis, then some people, they just don't process those emotions because they lack emotional aptitude. In many of the movies you would have seen the serial killers, the psychopaths that are there, they are not having emotional aptitude because they don't feel anything. Similarly, in the context of civil services, there may be different people, that may not feel the emotion of other, and they may not be moved by the plight of others. So it will not be called that they are having the right civil services aptitude because they are lacking emotional intelligence, and for that they require emotional aptitude. So now you understand the importance of emotional aptitude? Yes? Then moral aptitude, of course, that one must have this basic sense of morality, that he has to be honest, integral and everything. Morality, very, very important. So suppose, this famous example is there. Let us talk about that. Physical aptitude, I think, is something that all of you must have understood by now. Let us talk about this example of PDS officer. I will use this case study again and again in various illustrations. Let us talk about PDS officer. You are the PDS officer, and of course, an elderly woman who has come to you. She is poor, she is hungry, and but she does not meet the eligibility criteria of PDS ration, and she has come to you. So suppose she comes to you, and you see that she is not meeting the eligibility criteria. Listen to me very carefully. That she is not meeting the eligibility criteria, but she is very hungry. And suppose you check the rules and you find that she is not meeting the eligibility criteria. You cannot disburse the food grain under PDS to her. But you are not moved by the plight. You simply, you are not feeling the emotion of hers. You are not feeling the pain of being hungry. And you are simply turning her away, saying that we do not have ration for you because you are not having the eligibility fulfilled. Then that person may be intellectual because he is logical here when he is saying that rules are not being followed. So that person may be intellectual, but that person is not having emotional aptitude and definitely not having moral aptitude. Understood or not? But suppose that person is very much emotionally sensitive. He is very, very much emotionally sensitive, and he breaks the rule, and he gives the ration from the PDS. Then the person may be having emotional aptitude, but definitely not the intellectual aptitude, because later inquiry will always question him. He's not being logical here. He's not being rational here. Understood or not? He's not being objective here. Is not being objective here. Understood or not? Yes? So that is the difference that you need to see, that you may be physically fit, you may be having lot of intellect, but you may be immune to emotional aptitude. There are people who are very logical, who are very practical, lot of mind, lot of intellect they have, physically also they are fit, but they just don't feel the emotions. There are people like that. I think you can encounter many of such people in your friend circle also, that they are not that much, conversant with the human emotions. So those people we call that they are lacking emotional aptitude. And that is why they will never develop the emotional intelligence ability. Understood or not? Now, it may be the case that one is having sound physical aptitude, one is intellectually intellectually he's great, lot of logical thinking, everything he's having. He's emotionally sensitive also. But it may be the case that he's not moral. For example, this person, the PDS officer, of course, he's not breaking the law and everything, and he's very, rational and everything. So at times it may just happen that he may take the immoral path to help that person. That he's applying his logical mind, but taking the immoral path to help the person. immoral path. So basically, I'm saying that all these axes are different, from each other. All these axes are different from each other. So this is the example of lacking of emotional aptitude. This IS officer, he of course looks in great physics, the physical aptitude is there, and of course intellectual aptitude is there. He's qualified the examination, but he is not having the emotional aptitude the way, he's talking to this patient. Through his action, we can see that he's having this syndrome that, he's some superior or something like that. So emotional sensitivity is not there. Understood? Then this is the example of morality. Because not so much emotions are there. It is just physically he's fit. Of course, he's an actor, yes, part-time public servant, and having a lot of intellectual aptitude, and but moral aptitude is missing, because he's using his service to the ends of glamour. Because the very basic tenet of bureaucracy is that they are supposed to be anonymous. And that is why he was reprimanded. He was reprimanded by the debate is there in the context of social media, how relevant the value of anonymity is. We will discuss that in the context of section A, but here we can discuss that, of course, this was not for the public interest. Yes, so he was using that, one term is there in the Kantian philosophy, respect for the moral law. You should follow the moral law for the respect of it. So basically, he is not using this particular thing for the respect of it, instead of showing it off. Understood or not? So these are the examples. Then the great example of emotional, physical, intellectual, every aptitude. This person, this cop who saved another person because when he was being lynched by the mob. So great example of emotional aptitude, yes. Great example of moral aptitude, because that was the right thing to do. Of course, physical and intellectual should be there. So now can you understand this part that you can be physically aptitude, you can have physical aptitude, but you may not have other three aptitude. Basically, all these four axes are different than each other. That is what you can understand, I guess. Yes? ऑनलाइन वालों समझ में आ गया आपको? समझ में आ गया क्या? Everyone, आपको समझ में आ गया सबको? So when we talk about aptitude, suppose I ask you that do you have the requisite civil services aptitude, and what are you doing to improve that? So your answer should always talk about that how you are building your physical aptitude, with respect to taking care of your physical health, how you are building your emotional aptitude, perhaps by interacting with the people and getting emotionally literate with respect to the needs and concerns of the people, how you are building your intellectual aptitude, your logical aptitude, and of course how you are training yourself in moral aptitude dimension. Understood or not? So basically you should break down this term whenever you encounter this question, and your answer should not be monolithic, that it is just like one term that is there, that is civil service aptitude. It has all these four dimensions, and that is what you are supposed to write. It will depend upon the question, but that is what you should keep in your mind, that is how you will be breaking down the term in the context of answer. Understood? Now, talking about aptitude, these are prodigy, they are talented individuals. Yes, at very young age, this 9 musical instrument, this person can play. 11-year-old, he plays 9 musical instrument. I cannot even play one. So, lot of aptitude is there. He's very talented. Similarly, you talk about this person, another talented person. So, we call such person prodigies. They are talented individuals because they are having outstanding aptitude. But then, a very important theme that emerges, that what is the difference that is there between attitude and aptitude? What is the difference, and how attitude and aptitude should complement each other? This theme is very, very important. The essay topic, usually the essay topic, it is there, that it is your attitude, not aptitude, that will decide your altitude. That how far you will go will be decided not by your aptitude, but by your attitude. That essay theme, it is there. But to understand that, let us first understand the difference that is there between attitude and aptitude. अरे सुन लेते हैं पहले, फिर लिखने का टाइम देंगे ना, मुझे तो ब्रेक चाहिए होता है बोलने से. So, aptitude, all of us have understood, it is basically talking about the inherent capacity or basically the potential that we have to do something great later. Yes, that is what aptitude is all about. But what is attitude? Attitude is your predisposition to act in a certain fashion. Predisposition. You know, certain people, all of us have certain tendency towards certain thing. So, what is our predisposition to act in a fashion, and that we call it as a attitude. It is a psychological dimension, that what is your tendency to act. Suppose I am having the attitude of fear as soon as with respect to snakes. So suppose as soon as I see a snake, then I may be like, run from here. So my predisposition to basically run from the snake, because I am very fearful of the snake. Understood? So attitude reflect tendency to act. Mind you, my attitude and my actual behavior may be different. Patriarchy is an attitude. So usually, I may have, suppose I am a patriarch, then I will have a tendency to treat, females inferior to me. That is the tendency I am having. So attitude is the tendency to behave. Although in real life, suppose if I am patriarch, I may not display that in front of you. So my real life behavior may be different. But that is the discussion for another time. But for us, you must understand that attitude is basically a predisposition to act in a certain way. If you are having the attitude of racism, then of course you are, that we expect you to behave in a particular fashion whenever you encounter someone from the other race. Understood or not? So this is basically your predisposition towards the issue, and this is your inherent capacity. Attitude, of course, is mental, but the aptitude, as we have discussed, it can be physical also. Understood or not? Attitude reflects more on your character and personality, and it reflects more on your talent, that what is the kind of skills you can acquire at later stage. So this is more about, character and personality. But the question will come that how attitude and aptitude complement each other, or is aptitude enough or is attitude enough? That is the debate that is there, and of course the potential theme for the question, attitude versus aptitude. Now for that, let us discuss the examples of Kambli and Tendulkar. Both these cricketers, they were treated as prodigy. Yes, both these cricketers. Can we say that the attitude is environmental, aptitude is gene? अरे भाई वहां मत जाओ, जीन वीन तक मत जाओ, यहीं पर रहो जहां पढ़ा रहे हैं. Attitude is not environmental, attitude is mental. आपके अंदर ही attitude. Attitude is shaped by environmental factors, that is a different story. We'll discuss that later. कहाँ पे हम? Kambli. Yes, so both Vinod Kambli and Sachin Tendulkar, they were treated as, prodigy, talented, and in fact it was said that Kambli was more talented than Tendulkar. But Vinod Kambli, he could not, digest the initial success. So his attitude towards working hard, he slowly drifted into past. He became a past. But other person, he became the god of cricket because he had sheer work ethics. He had the attitude to work hard. So even though you may be a talented person, but if you are not having the attitude to work hard, you will not reach altitude. It is very, very, especially in the context of civil services examination, I am telling you. This examination is not testing talent, I am telling you. Not at all. It is not testing talent. It is simply testing perseverance, hard work, and discipline. I may say that you are writing great answer, but then suppose you believe कि अब तो sir ने बोल दिया, अब तो बढ़िया number है, अब तो practice करनी नहीं है. Then even God cannot save you in the final examination. So basically, aptitude must be matched by attitude to work hard. Understood or not? So aptitude without attitude, is basically aimless, because attitude decide how you will be utilizing your aptitude. Suppose someone is muscular, physical aptitude, he's having a lot of physical aptitude, but he does not have the kind of attitude to excel at what he's doing. Talk about any wrestler, any weightlifter. Can he become the great weightlifter or great wrestler just by having the great physique? he has to really work hard on his discipline, fitness and everything. People are losing their medals because of certain grams of weight. Can you see the requirements, how disciplined you have to be? How disciplined you have to be to gain weight? So basically, attitude is that important because it directs how you will be using your aptitude. Either you may use it very positively, or you may, simply you will be also with the past very soon. Understood or not? A difference between aptitude and attitude. Understood or not? Yes? Another important theme that is there is that what about attitude without aptitude? What about attitude without aptitude? So let us talk about the people, who may not have the great aptitude, but they have great attitude. We talk about Stephen Hawking. At the face of it, people may, disregard him, that he may achieve something great in life because he was facing so many difficulties. But later he became a great scientist because of sheer attitude. Understood? So initially people may disregard you because you may not be talented, you may not have aptitude, but if you are having the right attitude, you can work on your mistakes, you can work on your problems. Understood? In the context of individuals, have you understood that? So you talk about Dasarath Manjhi, what he was able to achieve because of the kind of attitude he was having. Dasarath Manjhi, mountain man. If you look at him, that he's very poor and everything. So initially we will discard him, that he can achieve anything great in life. But we talk about what sheer attitude led. What kind of success he attained because of sheer attitude. Understood or not? That even if you are not having that great aptitude, you can compensate it by great attitude. Great attitude. But does it mean that aptitude does not have any relevance? Does it mean? No, it does not mean that, because see, if you are not having the STEM, all the examples of Paralympics of example of that only. So let us talk about the STEM aptitude. Suppose you do not have STEM aptitude, the basic STEM aptitude, then no matter how hard you try, it will be very difficult for you to become an ISRO scientist, even though you may have great attitude. So that is what you need to understand, attitude versus aptitude. That yes, aptitude is important, but to an extent, after that it is all about attitude. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? In essays, you can, take your discussion further from individuals to organizations and nations also. You talk about ISRO. ISRO did not have a lot of financial resources. So financial aptitude, many nations, discarded ISRO that it can achieve anything great. And look how it has achieved so many great heights. How? Because of sheer attitude of perseverance, frugality and everything. We talk about Japan, a country which does not have many resources and is riddled by so many disasters every day. Is on the brink of disasters every time, Japan. But it was able to achieve so much because of sheer attitude of discipline. We talk about Japan. We talk about India. Many people said that India will not survive just after independence because we have a lot of diversity. There will be many balkanization of our country. That is what many people, the prophecy, they had this prophecy that we will not survive. India as a country will not survive. And look how we have proven them wrong. So basically, attitude, is very, very important. Understood? So you can take your discussion forward by talking about organizational and national level only in the context of essays. Here you stick to individual only. Understood? Online वालों समझ में आ गया? Ability, I think this part is very much clear. Abilities already have. Aptitude is something that you need to work further. Everyone, online वालों समझ में आ गया आपको? Please type in the comment box if you have understood. I'm talking about from the perspective of nations, not individual here. So as a nation, Japan does not have a lot of natural resources. and it is riddled with so many difficulties. Very disaster prone, Pacific Ring of Fire that is there, because of so many earthquakes and everything is there. Still, that company, a lot of resilience they are having. So that is because of sheer attitude of resilience. Okay, now you please note it. Then we will discuss the foundational values for civil services. What is most important is that you understand that attitude is basically capacity, something that can be improved over a period of time, because you can always enhance your capacity. You can always enhance your physical capacity. अच्छा वहीं से स्टार्टिंग से पढ़ाना है ना, काफी देर से पढ़ा रहा हूँ. ओके, आई फॉरगॉट. ये तो आई थिंक जरूरत नहीं है, बट यार वो भी अक्षय कुमार वाला भी दिखाना है क्या? टी सेशन का दिखा रहे हैं. तो उसमें तो क्या ये स्टोरी बताई दी आपको, उसमें तो कुछ था ही नहीं, स्क्रीनशॉट थे. इट विल टेक सम टाइम टू लोड. बहुत हैवी है ना टी सेशन साहब. आ गए. Weight matters. BMI is that only? How do you calculate BMI without weight? Yes. So weight definitely matters. अभी चिंता मत करो, अभी पढ़ो. एग्जाम के बाद बहुत ऑप्शंस आते हैं. मेंस के बाद काम करना. विशेष जी पूछ रहे हैं, सर इफ एवरीवन विल राइट सेम एग्जाम्पल तो डिफरेंस कैसे आएगा मार्किंग में? ओके, you are a good question. So Visheshji, not everyone will remember the examples. That is from the experience I can tell you. Everyone is reading the same Lakshmikant, still they are committing the mistakes in the polity prelims paper. B, it is very difficult to recall all the things, in the actual examination hall in those 7 minutes. So there is so many examples, that I will be giving you, not just this letter also. So you will have so many examples. It will be very, very difficult that all of you recall the same example. And then with time, you yourself will also note various examples from the current affairs. So that is how difference will come. Not every person is able to implement whatever I am saying. See, if you are finding things very easy, that it is understandable, we are able to understand everything, it is like a story only. That is my talent, not yours. Okay. Your talent is when you use them in the actual examination. That will be your talent. Understood or not? So there is a great difference that is there. And also in the section answer writing, I will be giving you so many points. In an answer, you cannot write that kind of answer in 7 minutes. I agree. Lot of depth will be there in the answer. But I am giving you so much of content because I believe in food chain principle. You know food chain principle? How much energy is transferred from one trophic level to another? 10% is transferred. Only 10% is transferred. So from here to here, only 10% of what I am teaching you will be transferred. From you to examination, further 10% of that will be transferred. So I believe in food chain principle, and that is why, not all of you will be writing the same answer. I am very sure of it. ये भी अच्छी बात है. देखो स्टैटिस्टिकली ही इज सेइंग नॉट ऑल द पीपल विल बी राइटिंग मेंस. सही बात है आपकी. क्या हो जाएगा? टेस्ट में पता चल जाएगा. हाँ, मैं टेस्ट में दिखा सकता हूँ आपको. और वैसे भी ना इतना ज्यादा सी इन एसे, यू सी, हमेशा एसे में जब मैं कराता हूँ ना, एसे का कोई भी एसे का टॉपिक दूंगा ना, एवरी 4th और 5th इंट्रोडक्शन इज सेम ओनली. कोई दशरथ मांझी यूज करेगा किस टॉपिक, दशरथ मांझी में देखूंगा हर 4th-5वीं बार. सो इट इज नॉट द केस कि तुम कोई ब्रह्मांड से अलग से लिखोगे वही जो सब पढ़ रहे हैं. ठीक है, बट यस, अगर आप अलग से कोई लिख पाओ तो अच्छी बात है. फाइनली देखो कितना प्यारा क्वेश्चन है. इनोसेंट पीपल. फाइनली व्हाट शुड ए सिविल सर्वेंट फॉलो? इंटेलेक्चुअल एप्टीट्यूड और इमोशनल एप्टीट्यूड एंड मॉरल एप्टीट्यूड? हे भगवान, क्या सीखा फिर आपने? मैं इतना देर से डिस्कशन कर रहा हूं बार बार. पता नहीं if you understand Hindi. I've been telling you, yes, that when I'm talking about civil service aptitude, it contains all these aspects. You cannot have a great civil service aptitude without having good physical aptitude. You cannot have a great civil service. अरे भैया नीचे करो नीचे. You cannot have a great civil service aptitude without having sound emotional aptitude. I give the example of the PDS officer. He was a great officer in every regard. Lot of intellect he was having, physically fit, everything. But he was not very much sensitive to the need of the people, concern of the people. He was not feeling the pain of the people. Then he was not having emotional aptitude. So you have to have all these three things, all the four things. Understood? Bhunia ji, understood? सर स्क्रीन का सामने आ रहे हो आप, हट जाते हैं जी. अंडरस्टूड बुनिया जी? स्नेहा क्या नाम है इनका? Shubhangi, I will discuss that in case study because I need to discuss so many things to tell you that, and we have not studied that much now. So I will discuss that later. Done? With respect to bureaucrats, I will give you lot many examples. Lot many examples you have. Don't worry. And please be mindful of the themes that I am discussing just like that, because it may not come in a very structured fashion, like usually covered in PPT or in notes. It is just that I have discussed that. The question on Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, I just discussed that question just like that only. I did not discuss it through PPT or any question, but it came in the actual examination. So you be mindful of those themes that I am discussing just like that only. Done? इसमें तो क्या ही नोट कर रहे होंगे. Patriotism, yes, you can write as a value, yes. Done? Done? Please keep the photos to yourself only, okay? Done? क्या लिखा हुआ है? Moral is not having the moral aptitude. अरे तो भाई समझ लो बस, कहीं नहीं लिखना है. करप्शन का एग्जाम्पल कुछ भी डाल दो. Yes, you can talk about that, Sohani.
सर जैसे सिख को और मुस्लिम मैन अगर आप
ऐसा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. ए पुलिस ऑफिसर रिसेंटली सेव्ड द लाइफ ऑफ द पर्सन. जो न्यूज़पेपर वाले हैं ना, इनको तो कोई देखेगा नहीं ना, ऐसा नहीं लिखेंगे तो. You tell me, I think you talked about the Gandhian story. I will post them. Any other thing, Khushi, you tell me. Done? You want to take photo of that? कितने मोटे मोटे गाल हो रहे हैं इनके. घर वाले कितने खुश होते होंगे. वाह बेटे वाह, आज रसमलाई, आज तूने एक और सीख लिया म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट. Done? This thing is very important. A question waiting to be asked. Attitude versus aptitude. उदित जी ऐसा नहीं है, सेम बात नहीं रहेगी. Done? Chalo, so now let us move to the foundational values of civil services. And objectivity is the first value that we will study. Objectivity. Now, objectivity, the keyword of objectivity is that you are taking decision based on facts and facts alone. That is something that is very intrinsic to the definition of objectivity. Understood? Objectivity is taking decision on the basis of facts. Yes? So before we discuss objectivity, we need to discuss something. I need to tell you a story. Stories are a very important part of ethics teaching. Yes? So all of you would have heard of Weber, Max Weber. Yes, he gave this his famous bureaucratic model of Bavarian rationality. And he was the first person, you would have heard of the term iron cage of rationality. Yes, so we'll discuss that today. अभी लिखने focus मत करो, अभी ये theme बहुत important है. This theme is very important and we need to, understand it from the context. Otherwise, you will not be able to write a great answer on this theme. So first, understand the context. So earlier, when I'm talking about earlier, I'm talking about the times when there were kings and queens ruling the kingdom. So in those times, how were these people from administration, how were they selected? Was there any examination of UPSC? There was no examination of UPSC. So basically, they were selected through their proximity to the rulers. Yes, so nepotism, favoritism was the way through which people were selected. So if suppose you are the brother of the queen, then you will be made the military commander. If you are, let's say, brother of the king, then you will be the treasury officer or something like that. Basically, based on your proximity with respect to rulers, you will be given important postings. And that is how administration was run. And why were people following the authority? That why did they believe that they have to follow king all the time? Why did they believe? Because either they believed in the traditions that this king is the son of the previous king and that is how we should follow our king. Yes, either they were believing in the traditions and Weber called it traditional authority, or they believed in the charisma of the king, that this king has some supernatural powers, that God has himself sent him here, and that is why we should follow the king. So he said that the people were following on the orders of these kings because of either they believed in the traditions or they believed in the charisma of the leader. Because of these two, either of these two reasons, people used to follow the authority of the king and the administration. People, अरे भाई मोबाइल में क्या देख रहे हो? शेयर मार्केट खत्म हो गया, शेयर मार्केट क्या हो गया? मैसेज आ गया? सुनो ध्यान से, स्टोरी इंपॉर्टेंट है, फिर आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझ में नहीं आएगा क्वेश्चन का. So, अब अटका देते हो बीच में, कहाँ थे हम? Administration, yes. So the people in the administration, they were selected on the basis of their proximity to the kings and queens, basically to the rulers. And the people were believing in the authority, either they believed in the traditions or they believed in their charisma. And as you can see, the entire authority was subsumed in the king only. He was the legislature, executive, judiciary, everything combined. So basically, that is how the administration was run. And Weber realized that this sort of administration is basically inefficient. Of course, it is inefficient. Yes, because it is not rewarding people it is not appointing people on the basis of merit. People are considering themselves that they are the owners of this particular thing because they believe in the proximity to the rulers. Anyone cannot say anything to them because they are the brothers and sisters of the kings and queens. So you imagine that circumstances, that Weber is saying that people are believing in authority because of traditions and because of charisma. And this belief in the authority, why they are following this authority, is basically irrational because it is very much subjective in nature. Because you may believe that someone is the incarnation of God, I may not believe in that. You may believe in the traditions, but traditions are not democratic. That king himself, will not follow the tradition if it is come to their own interest. So basically he said that if we follow those norms, we will be making the administration very inefficient. And in that perspective, he propounded his model of Bavarian bureaucracy. And he said that we should follow the orders from the authority, not because we believe in their traditions, not because we believe in the charisma of the rulers, but because they follow the same laws. So he believed in legal rational authority, that the authority should be derived from law. And since the king or the rulers or the administrators, they are also following the same law, and that is why we should also follow the law, and that is why it is the rational authority, and that is why the term legal rational authority, that following the law is the rational way. So we are following the orders of the Prime Minister Modi not because we believe in some traditions, not because we believe in that he is some god or something like that, but simply because he is also following the same law, and that law has allowed him to order us something, and he is bounded by those laws, and which we are also bounded by those same laws, understood or not. And that is why he said the administration should derive its authority from law, and that is why it should be legal rational authority. But my dear students, let us understand something more. These things may not be relevant from the perspective of writing answers, but it is very much important from the perspective of understanding the context. ये क्या है भाई? हाँ? स्मोक अलार्म? कौन सिगरेट पी रहा है? पीछे बैठ के किसने स्मोक लगा दिया? ऑनलाइन वालों, आपको आवाज सुनाई दी? We are in danger here. People are coming to evacuate us. MI6. Yes. So basically, yes, you are safe. Yes. You are attending online, you are safe. Yes. Send ambulance here. Okay. So he said, now let us discuss another concept. So in those times, there was not real separation between the people who were making policies and between the people who were implementing policies. And Weber believed that there should be separation. And there should be people who should make policies, and there should be people who should implement policies. He believed in this term that we call as politics administration dichotomy. Okay, he believed that the people who are making policy, they are different than the people who are implementing policies. So basically, what is the kind of policy that we should follow? It should be decided by the politician or the political executive, that is minister. And how it should be implemented, that should be the business of bureaucrats. And when this decision is given to them that we have decided on the Manrega policy, we have decided on the National Food Security Act, we have decided on this policy, then it should be the mission of the bureaucrat to implement that decision, with utmost sincerity. He should not question that. And basically, he should be value neutral. He should not have any personal preference that whether Manrega is good or bad. He should not have any personal preference whether subsidy is good or bad. His focus should be single-mindedly pursuing the most efficient implementation of the policies, acts, and everything that is decided by the political executive. That is what he believed. And that is why he regarded that the administrators, they should always concern themselves about the most efficient implementation of the policies, and that is why they are supposed to be value neutral. When we are talking about value neutrality, it simply means, value means preferences, that bureaucrats should not have any preference of their own. That subsidies are bad, that we should not give so many subsidies, Manrega is bad. No, these type of personal preferences are not allowed to bureaucrats. They are the political decisions, and they are taken by political executive. And the job of the bureaucracy is to simply implement those decisions. That is what he believed. And that is why he believed that their single most fundamental objective should be ruthless implementation of laws, rules, and policies that are decided by the people, political executive, and that is why you should concern yourself with only facts of the cases. That you should be objective in what you are doing. You should not indulge your personal values. You should not indulge any preferences. So basically, if I'm here in the same context of PDS, I should be like, I should only look at facts. If you have come to me and you are poor, hungry and everything, but you are not meeting the eligibility criteria, then I will look at this and I will simply see the facts that no, you are not eligible for this, and I will simply say that I cannot give you any ration. And that is what Bever expected administrator to behave like, because he believed in the efficiency, he believed in the objectivity, that bureaucrat should not indulge any emotion in decision making. He should take decision based on the facts and facts only. That is what objectivity, that is what he means by objectivity. And that is what he means when he says that is how you make the administration most efficient. Understood or not? And that is why, he strongly believes in the value neutrality, that they do not have any preferences, because the values comes into the play when we decide any ends. That what is the end we want to pursue, social justice, economic justice, anything. And for that we make policies. And these are not the questions of bureaucrats. These are the questions of political executives. The questions of bureaucrats are that you have to implement these policies once they are made by these people. Understood or not? That is what he believed. And that is what he said, that you have to be rational in implementation of that, because you are following the law and that law is equally applicable to everyone. And then he propounded his characteristic of Bavarian bureaucracy. I will teach that in greater detail in the Western Thinker and Philosophers, that the bureaucrat should be recruited on the basis of merit. There should not be any nepotism and subjectivity. There should be written rules and regulation to ensure accountability. There should be hierarchy to ensure supervision. There should be strong value neutrality. All these aspects he talked about. And amongst all these aspects, the emphasis was on ensuring accountability. Hierarchy, so that you can ensure supervision of what is being done under you. Understood or not? Yes. So basically, hierarchy, written rules and regulation, formal aspect of administration, all these are characteristic of Bavarian bureaucracy to enhance accountability and consequently efficiency of the administration. Understood? And that is why Bever is so popular, that you will not find any large organization, be it government or be it private, without Bavarian characteristic. Can any organization, big organization, run without hierarchy? Can any big organization run without merit-based recruitment? Very difficult for that organization to survive otherwise. Can in that organization, people can decide so many things based on their personal preferences? No, they cannot decide. For example, when I am working here, I am also bound by certain rules and regulations. I also cannot do so many things because I am bound by certain laws, certain rules and regulations. Understood or not? So my personal preferences, they will not come into the play. Suppose every faculty decides that they will act according to their personal values. Can you imagine how will large organizations survive? They will not survive. So now you are understanding the utility of Bavarian bureaucracy. Now you are understanding why Weber wants bureaucrats to follow only facts while making the decision, because it does not want subjectivity, it wants absolute accountability. And that is what we call iron cage of Bavarian rationality, that your decision, it has to be based on facts and facts alone. And that is how rigid he was. And that is why we call it iron cage. That he was so rigid about that you cannot employ your values or personal preferences in decision making. You have to take decision on the basis of facts. Facts-based rational decision making. What do we understand by rational decision making? Basically, the rational decision making is basically considering various alternatives and deciding the most efficient alternative. Suppose you have to build a road from A to B, and there are three options. One option is the hill is there, another option is river is there, another option is nothing is there but it is a bit longer. So you have to decide, you have to do the cost benefit analysis, and then you have to decide which is the most optimum path to go. Now in doing that, the bureaucrat will only look at the fact and the cost. It does not matter whether this particular river is sacred river or not. It does not matter whether any tribal is living there or not. Because these are the emotions. And as per Weber, you should not make decision based on emotion. You should take decision only and only based on facts. That is what objectivity means. It is about strongly value neutral, that there is no preference whatsoever from the perspective of bureaucrat. Have you seen, now they have changed the lady, the blind lady, they have changed that, but have you seen the Andha Kanun, all these things? So basically it is telling you that that lady is not able to see anything. There is no personal preference or personal value that is attached to that lady. It is only looking at facts. Whatever is there in the form of evidence, it is only looking at that when the judge is pronouncing verdict. It is not having any personal value, any personal preference. That is the meaning of that. Although people were believing that it is because Kanun Andha hai, Kanun Andha nahi hai. It is saying that it only take action based on facts, what can be proven. So that is what also Weber believed in. Understood or not? Everyone has understood this part? Let us look at the application objectivity. That whenever you go to, let's say take loan under the mudra, what the bureaucrats will do? They will verify your eligibility and then disburse your amount. So basically, that's how you make the administration efficient. But suppose, it is based on subjective norms, nepotism. The officer who is implementing mudra loan, he is giving the mudra loan to his friends and family. Will it make the organization efficient? It will not. But if it is having some objective criteria and you are following that is how you make it more objective, more efficient. Understood or not? Bavarian rationality, objectivity. Talk about UPSC, it is believing in objectivity. It is taking a decision based on facts. An objective examination there in prelims, you fill ABCD and rationality, the result is decided equally applicable to everyone. No bias, nothing. That we believe in, but yeah. Okay, so objectivity. And that is how it helps UPSC to get the right talent. Then you talk about open auctioning of mind. In open auctioning of mind, you are taking decision on the basis of facts and facts only, that whosoever has made the most beneficial bid, that person will be selected. So I am not having any personal preference that I have to give this bid to you only because you are my friend. No. I am not doing that. So it has to be this, that open auctioning of mind. It should be there. Understood? Then fighting superstition, fighting prejudices. When you believe in prejudices like, let's say, patriarchy, women cannot achieve great things. How do you fight prejudices? By telling the people that you don't know the facts. Just look what women have achieved in the real life. So objectivity and the facts helps you in fighting, all these things. Now, in the context of administration, let us see what is the relevance of objectivity. Let us look at it. Now, we see that in organization, there are various interests that are there. We talk about farmers' law. We talk about any policy that relates to agriculture. Now, there is interest of farmers. There is interest of consumers. Farmers will want that they want to maximize the price for their crop. Consumers will want that they have to minimize the price of the crop. Yes. Then there are industrialists that are there. They will want something else. Then there are someone else. So basically there are many stakeholders that are there when you are making the decision. And at times their interest may be at loggerhead with each other. How do you make the decisions then? And suppose if you make the decision and don't tell the public that on what basis you have made the decision, will it inspire trust? So that is why you have to follow fact. You have to tell people why you made that particular decision. So when you are navigating various interests, talking about dams, industrialists versus tribals, talking about mines, awarding contract. So basically when I'm awarding contract, all of you have applied for the contract. Then suppose I select this person, then I have to tell you why I have selected this person. So perhaps some eligibility criteria was there, perhaps the bid that he has submitted by the best amongst you all. So only in this open auction, when I do that, then only I will be able to efficiently implement my administration, my policy of giving, tender. Understood or not? So only when I have objectivity, I will maintain efficiency. That is how I will avoid conflict of interest, by being objective in nature. By being objective, by taking a decision solely on the basis of facts. Suppose there is a son of the bureaucrat who is participating in the examination. Now, even if that person has not qualified, let's say, mains examination, can that bureaucrat, make him pass through the examination? No, the facts are there. So that is how it helps you in avoiding conflict of interest, because you can tell later that, see, that is why he did not qualify, and that is why he qualified, because he got marks. So basically, conflict of interest can be avoided when you are taking decision on the basis of facts and facts. In the same example of tender, let us say, this person is my brother who is participating in the tender, who is participating in the auction. Let us say this person is my brother. Of course, there is a conflict of interest when I am awarding the contract. Yes or no? But suppose this person, my brother, he submit the best of the bid amongst you all, fairly also. Fairly also, he submit the best of the bid, and I award the contract to this person. And I tell you that, this is a bid that he has submitted. Then will you still allege that there is some, prejudice that has been, done to you? Will you still allege? Of course not, because he has beaten you fair and square. So only by taking decision on the basis of facts, I am able to avoid conflict of interest. But suppose if I don't tell you that on what basis I gave him the tender, then all of you will question me. Perhaps he is your brother, perhaps you have taken money, and that is why you have given him the tender. So you can avoid conflict of interest by being objective, and that is why objectivity is important. Of course, selection of beneficiary. You are not selecting beneficiary because that person comes from your caste, religion, or region. Simply because that person is meeting the criteria, eligibility criteria, that is why you are selecting beneficiaries. Understood or not? Then challenging prejudices, I think we have discussed that. Superstitions. Then personal management. You talk about transfers, posting, promotion. Suppose, all of you, you qualified this examination, and just after training, one of your batchmate, he has got married to the, let's say, daughter of a minister. And because of that, he has been given the plum posting of district magistrate of a district. On the other hand, you are scratching desk at the state secretariat, and you are not given DM posting for many, many years. How will you feel? What will be the morale of the bureaucracy if it believes that the decisions of transfer, promotion, postings, they are not taken on the basis of objectivity, but on the basis of proximity to the political parties? Of course, the motivation and the morale will be down. Understood or not? And it will make the organization inefficient. So, personal management. Then you talk about rule of law. When you are imposing sedition cases on anyone, you have to ensure that the facts are verified. You are not imposing those cases because they have written an opinion that is critical of you. When you are imposing section 144, or whenever you are doing this encounter, you have to decide on the basis of facts. Facts have to be pure. You should not tinker with them. And that is only how you ensure rule of law. When you take decision on the basis of facts, you are held accountable for that also, and that is how you will be punished. It facilitates transparency because later you can disclose also that on what basis you took all those facts, all those decisions. So it facilitates transparency. It ensures that the credibility and trust among the people like UPSC Election Commission, because it tells you that on what basis they are taking that decision. And ultimately, facts are important when we are dealing with multilinguistic or multi-religious society, because in such diverse country, there may be different interests. And when you are dealing with so many different interests, it becomes important that you remain impartial. And when you remain impartial, it is important that you take decision on the basis of facts. And suppose you have this quasi-judicial role. You are the member of tribunal. You understand tribunal? Yes, in tribunal, the people from bureaucracy, they are also appointed as their member. And when they are appointed as a member, they have to decide on the merit, of a case. They have to decide on the merit of the case. So in that capacity, they are acting like a judge actually. So again, you have to take decision on the basis of facts. There cannot be any personal bias if you are a member, if you are discharging your coffee judicial role. So now all of you have understood that why we need to be objective. Yes? Have you understood or not? So basically all these points are with respect to internal organizational perspective. These are different roles that are there. These are different people that admission is dealing with. So basically that is how you can classify and write your answers that why objectivity is important when you are making decisions. So please note till this point of time, then we will discuss the critical part. So I think it is very much clear that when we are following the objectivity and the facts, it is making the administration more efficient. Is it clear or not? Yes? So please note it. I think from here I should start. From here only, right? Why daughter of minister, why not son? Because in my example, I talked about the boy IAS officer. But yeah, he can marry the son also. Yeah. ये लोग ऐसा तो नहीं है मेरा अब यहाँ से काट देंगे क्लिप कि सर तो बायस्ड हैं, पेटी आर्च हैं. ये बहुत डर लगता है मुझे उन सब चीजों से. श्वेता जी माफी. Humbly apologize with folded hands. था भाई ऐसा in previous institute, one line was written, legal but not ethical. So I had written section 377. Yes. So I had written that. So they talked about so few people, the advocacy group, they took the screenshot of the lecture and they posted on the Twitter and they said, no, the ethics teacher, it is telling that homosexuality is it is legal but not ethical. The ethics teacher is the premier institute, that is what it is teaching. And then I spoke to them. मैंने बोला भाई क्या लिखा हुआ है इसमें गलत. I am talking about the section 377 that are earlier there, and it is very much clear through the wording. In that context only I have discussed. But still, that is how you gain mileage. So, इसलिए at times I'm very fearful of saying so many things. लोग आधा काट के चला देते हैं. माफी नहीं मिली है वैसे मुझे अभी तक. चांस से नहीं मिलेगी. रिटन अपॉलॉजी. आगे से मेरे सारे एग्जाम्पल में लड़कियां विलन बनेंगी. आई थिंक तब भी आप मुझे बोलोगे कि सर तो पेट्रियार्च हो रहे हैं. नोट कर लिया? आई थिंक इफ यू वांट टू नोट. श्वेता जी, इज इट ऑल राइट? Have you made peace? Truce? Okay. She is kidding. ऐसा मजाक मत करो भाई मेरे संग. ना कंट्रोवर्सी आती तो है लेक्चर्स में. लोग निकाल देते हैं. वो एक दूसरी कोचिंग है, उनकी एक मैम थी, उन्होंने कुछ कहा, वो वायरल हो गई जबरदस्ती. ऐसी पब्लिसिटी मत देना मुझको. ठीक है, मैं बहुत ऐसा पब्लिसिटी नहीं चाहिए. रैंक वैंक लाओ फिर अच्छा बोलना, जैसे उसने बाकी अच्छे बोलते हैं. ऐसी सस्ती पब्लिसिटी नहीं चाहिए. बिकॉज इट विल मेक मी मोर कॉन्शियस व्हेन आई एम स्पीकिंग एंड टीचिंग का क्वालिटी इम्पैक्ट होगा इससे. Done? So objectivity, it helps a lot. Of course, if we believe in fact, see it in the context of a lot of subjectivity that was there, that was prevalent before Bavarian administration, then of course, from that perspective, it should help a lot, because you can curb subjectivity, you can hold administration and officials accountable, and you can ensure they are responsible for the ruthless, efficient implementation of the policies, and also you can hold them, you can prevent nepotism, favoritism, and everything. So yes, in that context, yes, you understand that that objectivity is very much important. But my dear students, just like anything, excess of anything is bad. Yes, so let us now look at very, very important theme. Every year you will say either essay or, or ethics questions from this theme, that what are the limitations of objectivity? That why it is that at times we may not be follow objectivity in the true sense. So what is the very basis of objectivity? Yes, facts. I'm telling you, if you take objectivity from the perspective of any other thing except fact, you will not be able to write a good answer. And that is why I gave you that story. मुझे कोई मजा थोड़ा ना आपको पढ़ाऊं मैं Weber इस point of time पे. I gave you that story of Weber just to make you understand that how against he was against emotions, and that is why he wanted bureaucracy to be value neutral. And that is why he wanted bureaucracy to follow only facts and only facts. So what we need to make decision? Facts. But at times there may be constraints of time, data, and ability. You talk about COVID-19, the novel COVID virus was there. What do we mean by novel? That it was a new virus. So if it is a new virus, then we may not have the facts to begin with. How do we make the objective decision making? How do we make the decision making? If we follow objectivity so blindly, then there is no data to begin with. So there may be constraint of time. There may be constraint of data also. The data may not be representative of the sample. The data may be wrong itself. It may be the biased data. The sampling may be biased. And at times we may not have the ability to process the data in time. You talk about disaster management. In disaster management, you may not have the time to calculate all those alternatives and then decide the best possible course of action. Rationality, we discussed that. Doing cost-benefit analysis, cost-benefit, and then deciding the most efficient and rational action. That may not be possible in the context of disaster management. Understood or not? So, constraint of time, data, and ability, it might be there. Then at times, you may need intuition. At times, what you need, you may not have the time to process data, and then you act on your intuition. You act on your intuition that, back yourself. You talk about MS Dhoni, in the 2011 World Cup final, he was not having the great World Cup. And Yuvraj Singh was having the great World Cup. And instead, he promoted himself ahead of Yuvraj Singh in the World Cup final because he acted on his intuition that, that is what, that is what he backed himself. He acted on intuition. So at times, what you need is intuition. You may not need the data, you need intuition. And at times that courage comes from intuition only. Suppose the bureaucracy, is there, and if it is following rules and regulation, basically facts, so mechanically, can it, ever do the risk taking? Can it ever innovate? It will be very, very difficult for the bureaucracy to innovate, because if you are doing anything, you will always find there are rules that are going against you. Because if you are so trained to follow rules only, you will be finding it very difficult to think beyond rules. There are things that are going beyond rules. So risk-taking and innovation, it will be curtailed. I will give you an example. In Kerala, they were implementing this some internet. What is this? The project, in which you set up the different centers to provide government services online, kiosk, something like kiosk. So they were establishing that. So if you simply go by the rules and traditions, then you cannot invite the companies that may not have the prior experience in that particular project. Usually, these are the eligibility criteria. These are the eligibility criteria that are there when you participate in any tender, that you must have certain experience, these many projects, that much amount of project you must have already done, But if you follow those rules blindly, you may miss out on the newcomers who may be talented, who may be more, who may have latest technology, and who may have innovated in the context of service delivery. So this, famous lady Sundarajan, Aruna Sundarajan, she changed the rules, and and she decided that she will give the project on the basis of performance of the pilot project. So she gave the pilot project to different companies, including the new companies, and on the basis of that performance, then they gave award to the new companies. So if that lady had followed the rules blindly and mechanically, those new people, those new companies will never get the chance to participate in the project. And government will always miss out on innovation and such, young entrepreneurs. So basically, if you are following rules so mechanically, it, you become risk averse and you do not take the decision, because, you are always finding the excuse that rules are saying this, rules are saying that. And for you, rules become the end in themselves, and you satisfy yourself that we have followed the rules. I gave the example of Isharan Saab. Yes, so Isharan Saab, had he wanted, he could have simply followed the rules. Since I do not have the land at my disposal, at my disposal, how can I build the metro station? I will not build the metro station. You talk about, Neil Armstrong Payne, not Neil Armstrong, Armstrong Payne. You talk about the Armstrong Payne, Had he wanted, he could have simply said that we do not have funds. How can I build the road? The rules are not allowing me to build the road. So, if you follow the rules so mechanically, they become the end in themselves. I will give you another example. Once president visited Kanpur, and there was a VVIP movement restriction that was there. And in the traffic jam, one lady struck. That lady was going to hospital. And the traffic constable, they did not allow the lady to pass through the traffic jam. Because, of course, VVIP convoy restrictions were put in place. And that lady died. The traffic constable was simply following the rules very mechanically. It was not following the things beyond that. And that lady died because for him, following the rules was the end. Later, he was suspended also. So, if you follow rules so blindly, for you, rules may become the end in themselves. But rules are there to serve people. So, that is what the limitation of objectivity is. If you follow objectivity so mechanically, in so rigid fashion, they become the end in themselves. You become apathetic, you will not take the risk, you will not be innovative, and ultimately, that is how it will hurt. Value neutrality. We talk about, again, I will give you this example only, Aruna Sundarajan and the Armstrong Payne. I will give you both these examples only. If those people, they could have simply said that since they are supposed to follow rules, there should not be any personal value that should influence their decision making. Because that was the personal preference of Armstrong Payne, that he will crowdsource the funding of the road. That was the personal preference of the Aruna Sundarajan, that she will invite the people on the basis of the performance of the pilot projects. So, value neutrality actually leads to apathy at times, because you hide behind rules. Understood or not, you hide behind rules. So, value neutrality can actually lead to apathy. It can actually curb the initiative on the part of bureaucrats, because they may say that we are not required to follow our preferences. We are supposed to only follow rules mechanically. Understood or not? I will give you another example. You go to a police station, and suppose any woman, she's faced some crime, sexual harassment. She's going to a police station, and police station will simply say that it is not under my jurisdiction. You go to somewhere else. Although it is illegal now, but previously, that was a norm. You imagine what they are doing. Instead of serving that lady, instead of helping that lady, what they are doing? They are simply following rules as an end in themselves. Now, since it does not come in our jurisdiction, we will make you turn away. So, that is the problem that is there when you follow rules very, very mechanically. You become apathetic, innovation will not be there, rules will become end in themselves, red tapage will be there, you will curb the intuition, and also facts may not capture emotions. I was talking about that tribal, the Niyamgiri case. Suppose if you talk about from a very rational perspective, from a factual perspective, how will you calculate emotions? Although you can calculate that if this project is given to this particular company, these many jobs will be generated, that much percent of GDP will be added, people will get employment, so much of money will go. But how will you rationally calculate the emotions? Because for rationality, you need to do ultimate cost benefit analysis. So there has to be some number that you have to associate with the emotion. Then only you can do the net calculation. But that net calculation will not be possible because you cannot measure emotions, and that is the problem with objectivity, because it makes you blind towards emotions, because you are supposed to, as per Weber, you are supposed to follow facts only. Because that is the first problem that he wanted to solve, that you should not be emotional. Understood or not? So now you understand. If I just tell you, listen to me very, very carefully. If I tell you, apart from objectivity, empathy and compassion are required to make ethical decision making. Now you understand the importance of this. The question is saying, apart from objectivity, empathy and compassion are required to make ethical decision making. Because apart from objectivity means, yes, objectivity is important. We have seen that, but it is not enough, because it has its own limitation. Whether you talk about in the context of VVIP movement in the Kanpur and the dying and the death of that lady, or you talk about in the context of that PDS officer rejecting the form or the because of the eligibility, both these people were following rules very mechanically, objectivity only. So, but it was not the ethical decision. Was it ethical decision in the context of police constable or in the context of PDS officer? Was it ethical decision? No, it was not the ethical decision. So basically, besides objectivity, you need compassion to make ethical decision making, because here you are taking decision based on facts, and here you have to be emotionally sensitive towards the needs of the other person. Now you are understanding the point? So when you are discussing the 4 aspects of aptitude, there you understood, although you may be intellectual, but you have to be emotionally sensitive also. So intellect was all about objectivity, but emotional aptitude is a different thing altogether. Understood or not? Yes, understood. Now, if I just give you an example, visionary decision making happens when logic at the intersection of intuition and logic. Now you understand this essay statement. Visionary decision making happen at the intersection of intuition and logic. Basically, neither intuition nor logic are foolproof. Because intuition can be subjective. There are problems with intuition also. If people start following their intuition all the time, how will you ensure they are accountable? How will you ensure their accountability? Modi ji said that, demonetization कर दिया क्योंकि मेरा intuition कह रहा था. अरे भाई, इतना बड़ा decision intuition के basis पे. There has to be some factual basis behind your decision. It was such a big decision. So basically, you cannot always rely on intuition also. Understood or not? So, visionary decision making happen at the intersection of intuition and logic. That is the theme of this. Apart from objectivity, empathy and compassion are required to make ethical decision. That is the perspective that is required. And you will write that perspective only when you understand objectivity from the very limited perspective of taking a decision on the basis of facts, because that is what it means. That is what it means. Suppose I tell you that you have to give 3 foundation value for civil services, and you talk about objectivity, one of them, then you have to talk about compassion or any value that take care of the emotional part, because objectivity in itself is blind and you cannot be blind. And that is why it is said, yes, value neutrality actually is leading to apathy. It is actually leading to lack of initiative on the part of bureaucrats, because they will say, हमारी personal preference क्यों चलेंगे? You should not follow our value. So, value neutrality is not desired. What is desired is value commitment. We need committed bureaucracy. We need value committed bureaucracy, but those values should be the values of constitution, not personal values. So basically, we require commitment to constitutional values. So in that case, in the case of PDS officer, he should believe that we are a welfare state. So he should find a way to help that lady. Yes? in the context of the preamble, we exist, we the people of India have given ourselves this constitution because we believe in fraternity. Yes, so that perspective should govern the action of that policeman also. So we should believe in the constitutional values, because an abstract form of value neutrality will lead to apathy and so many other problems. Have you understood this part or not? So when you go to a police officer and he is behaving in a very mechanical fashion because he's following the rules, he is making you experience objectivity. समझ में आया आपको? So this is the perspective, and this is a very, very important theme. Either an essay or an UPSC, you will see this question. This is a question of UPSC, I think, apart from objectivity or something like that. Yes? Oh, please note it now. I think this is where you will stop today. Constraints of time, data, and ability. That means that at times the data may not be available. Then how will you make the rational decision? So you have to rely on your experience, intuition at times that this is what you should do. The example of COVID I gave you. You may not have the right data because the data may not be representative of the people. It will be biased. So how will you make a decision? You talk about this GDP. There are a lot of allegation that is there that the data is not right and everything. Niyamgiri example, in Niyamgiri example, if you look at from the Bavarian rational perspective, iron case of rationality, then you have to do the cost benefit analysis that this Niyamgiri project, this bauxite mining project is coming to Niyamgiri Hills. The MNC will come, it will invest thousands of dollars of money, lot of money. So it will give rise to GDP, something that you can calculate. It will create these many jobs, something you can calculate, and the tribals can also get lot of money, something that you can calculate. But at the same time, what will be the cost? Perhaps the cost to environment, suppose that also you can calculate. But how will you calculate the cost to emotions? Because those tribals who are living there, Dongaria Kon tribe that lives there in the Niyamgiri Hills, they believe that hills are the abode of their gods, their ancestors, they are living there. So how will you calculate that? So rationality is blind to those emotions. Constraint of ability means that you may not have the ability to process all the data. How do we help that woman? Case study question. We'll discuss in the case study. Yes, spiritual value of tribal people cannot be quantified. Yes, very good. Everyone understood this theme. This theme is very, very important. सब लोगों को समझ में आ गया? जी. Yes, so that is why you have to write in a very specific context, commitment to the constitutional values. Because this value neutrality may lead to apathy, and that is why we need a committed bureaucracy that is committed to constitutional morality or constitutional values. That you can do, Kanak. Yes. To actually process the data. You may not have the ability to process the data. You may not have the time also. I talked about disaster management. Suppose you have to take the decision then and there. You may not have the data. You have to react only at the situation. There experience will come into the play. Yes, intuition and logic. That is the essay topic that you are supposed to see. PYQ. Understood? Okay then, I think this topic is very, very important. Please revise it again very thoroughly. Tomorrow I will give you another set of notes. समझ में आ रहा है आप सब लोगों को? Okay, bye bye, take care, good night. रुको ना, कौन सी फोटो कह रहे हैं सुहानी जी? ये फोटो ले लीजिए. इसी की बात कर रहे थे ना आप? ये वाला कह रहे थे. After this तो यही है ना? After this तो यही है. एटीट्यूड वाली, एटीट्यूड की कौन सी वाली फोटो? आप अब रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर देख लीजिएगा, क्योंकि ऐसे तो पूरा लेक्चर कहां तक दिखाएंगे. एटीट्यूड वर्सेस एप्टीट्यूड ये कह रहे होंगे. ओके देन, ओके, बाय बाय, बाय बाय एवरीवन, गुड नाइट.